So, social construct. Here's the definition that I'd like you to have for race. So, race is a social construct that attempts to group people based on a number of physical characteristics, usually skin color / melanin content. Okay? There's a reason we don't group race on eye color, kidney function, propensity for heart disease. These are not things that we group concepts of race on. We usually pick melanin. And that's in the West, usually, all right? So in some other places in the world, they have different concepts of how they would define a race. All right? But melanin is the primary one, generally because it's the easiest to see and understand. Okay, you can explain to somebody, you can use terms like white and black and have those make sense to people. All right, if I said some sort of other, well, we'll get to genotypes, phenotypes in a second, some sort of other thing carried genetically, or some genetic marker that I'm familiar with, I don't understand that. But if you tell me somebody's black or somebody's white, suddenly that can become clear to a lot of people, and now we're going to have a social construct with some legs. Okay? Now, there are people that say that race is not a social construct will point to what are called genetic markers. And genetic markers do indeed exist, which is why you can take 23andMe or some sort of other DNA test, and they can tell you with some sort of accuracy where your ancestors came from on Earth in a certain period of time back. That's true. There are genetic markers. Now, going from genetic markers to something called race is where the step becomes a social construct, and I will prove that to you right now. I'm going to do my best with this. You should have a whiteboard. Okay, I have a friend from Kansas. This marker was better before. Who married a girl from Honduras. Okay. The marker was great. Now it's not. What? Kansas, blonde hair, blue eyes. Honduras, melanin. Brown hair, brown eyes. What race? Oh, I messed up. That's a question mark. What race? Kansas, Honduras. What race is their child? Mixed. If you use the word mixed, which is not uncommon, okay, and used by some sociologists if you've ever filled in bubbles, what's the opposite? Okay, if we have a kid that's mixed, or we have people that are mixed, surely there would have to be something outside of mixed to have a mixed person exist, racially mixed. The word that might occur to you and has occurred to other people is something called pure. For you to have mixed, you would need to have pure. All right, that provides the contrast for what we would call mixed. Now we're going to try to find pure. Kansas, if we trace that person back, has United Kingdom and German ancestry. See? Okay? Now, are either of those pure? This is just going to be simplified for you, just because I can't do every single tribe that ever exists. But United Kingdom is generally associated with two major tribes, Anglos and Saxons. Anglos and Saxons fought for a while, and this is going to be a common theme, until they stopped fighting and decided to have babies. Those babies became what we would call British, or something of the sort. German. A lot of people came and fought in Germany, including Scandinavians, Hunnic people, There was Goths. I could also do some leftover Romans. All of these groups fought until they got tired and decided to make babies. Always. Now, it's lost to time necessarily who fought and then decided to have babies to make the Anglos. And it's lost to time with the Saxons. We could do some of these other groups further back, but this tree will just get even further along. Honduras, well, this is again a generalization oversimplified to illustrate, but Spanish and natives, indigenous, which I'm just going to put some question marks for. Spanish, Vandals, you had leftover Romans, and you had something called Moors. And this marker is on its last legs. Something called Moors. Is this a better marker? Barely better. Moors is the blurry one. Vandals, Romans, Moors. Moors are Arabs and Africans. Arabs, oh, we're all the way up here. Arabs, Africans, Numidians. We could go back and continuously draw this, and you actually know where this tree is going to arrive at? Well, it's going to, as it branches out, it's going to return to the first peoples. Okay, so we see here, this kid has been defined as mixed by some people. The opposite would be pure. Now I ask you to find me pure on this tree. You can't. It's impossible. If you would try to circle a pure, say this is where the pure people are, we could find you two people who fought until they made babies. And we could divide that up into further subgroups ad infinitum until we return to the first peoples. All right. Now, let's say this kid meets somebody from China. And by the way, there are hundreds of what you would call ethnicities in China. So when I say someone from China, that doesn't give you much information. But let's say the other side of the world, what would their child be? Super mixed? Okay? This just proves how real of a social construct this is. This is just a moment in time where we see people with certain physical traits and have decided to call it a race. Now that's the first part of the definition of race, is this a social construct. The second part of the social construct is that it has real effects. And that is a whole nother video for another subject. But when you have things such as, higher incarceration rates, or redlining in cities, or voter suppression or genocide, or ethnic cleansing, race has real effects. But that's the second portion of social constructs. The first portion is that it's a concept, agreed upon concept. That's it. So I don't know if we're going to have time for all the effects of real life on race for now, but for now I just wanted to get it out for you that this is indeed a social construct. Okay? Now, when we get to the concepts of the physical characteristics, again, I was intentionally vague because you have to be. Different groups will have different definitions of what they think a race is. If you try to define a race, say white or black, or Asian. I mean, Asian's even sillier. Asian's a continent, okay? And people in Asian stretches all the way from St. Petersburg, essentially, all the way down to Indonesia, right? Philippines. Well, Philippines is technically Asia, but it's very far, and the people, such variety, okay? Technically, Saudi Arabia is in Asia. So is Japan and Korea and Siberia. All right, so Asian is a word that we use to help us understand. And by the way, we create social constructs to help us understand things. So don't think that this is not a useful concept to some people to categorize. We always have categorizations. However, there is always inherent abuse whenever we oversimplify concepts. Right? Okay. Now the second part was the physical characteristics. So I said that race is a social construct that attempts to group people based on normal physical characteristics, usually melanin content. Melanin is a useful chemical in the skin that helps prevent skin cancer. It is what's known as a phenotype. Phenotype is a physical manifestation of a genotype. Now we've already kind of discussed the genotype is a combination of genes, essentially chemicals in your DNA that write to you. The phenotype is the physical manifestation of that. And the one that we mostly picked again was the melanin content due to ease, although not always throughout human history. Looks like I'm going to have to divide this video up into two because I've gone quite a while. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.